This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear
Good
me?
morning, Vinay. Good morning.
Morning. So, okay. Today we'll look at our database DevOps. Okay. This is not very traditional in each and every company because it's a very big process change in any project. Okay. Most of the people are not comfortable doing database DevOps for various reasons. Okay. But already the bigger companies are doing it, or some companies are, keeping it in the pilot mode, or for smaller applications, they are doing it. I mean, because this is also a very important one. I mean, for the better time to market stuff. Let's look at what is this database DevOps. Of course, again, the same CI/CD comes into picture, but let's get into the basics of why do we need it, right? Okay, the same concepts, but in a different way. So first, let me open my SQL server on my local. You may not get a chance to work on it if you're working for a smaller companies or not tech savvy, but it's a very good one. I'm just connecting to my local. Sorry, my service stopped. Let me let me run my services. I generally stop all the services which I don't use because of the performance reasons. Let me go there. They're all stopped, even disabled. Okay, let me start this. Then I started the agent and then sorry, started SQL server. Let me let me check this. I have multiple actually. So okay, good. Okay. So in general, you have multiple database servers, right? That is very common. Okay, your dev, QA, UAT, everything, every environment will have a different server, but the same set of objects, right? This is equivalent to what you do in your code as well. But there, you have a code and you will keep it in the some repository, and you just build it and you move the artifacts from one environment to the other environment. Okay. So that code is converted into some EXEs, DLLs, Java, etc., right? Based on the programming language. Okay. But here it's not a compilation, right? It's all about scripts. It will not, whatever the scripts you have will not be converted into any DLL or EXE, right? It is just again a group of scripts. Okay, you will have a 10 table scripts. Probably that will all that script will get into one .SQL file. That's how it goes, right? Be it Oracle or SQL Server, whatever it is. It's not a compilation. But the only thing is how we can identify the changes that are done in your environment, dev environment automatically, and then move to the different environments. Okay, that's what we need to see. Okay, let's look at. I mean, I have my local server. Of course, it can connect to any other server as well, right? Having some DE database, and I have some tables here. Okay, generally people go and start working here, right? They create the tables, they modify the tables, okay, and they may go and create the stored procedures, okay, and then they may add or modify again. I mean, whatever they want, they do it here, right? And what after that, what they do, they basically take these scripts. I mean, be it a developer or a group of developers, whoever it is, whoever is working on. If there are multiple, they will take their own scripts. I mean, let us say developer one created table one, developer three created table three. They will take those scripts and give it to the some DBA. He will execute on the higher environments. Higher environments, nothing but your UAT production, etc. Because the developers don't have access, right? So of course there will be a number of things happening. Okay. So with that, let me get into the basics. I have a couple of slides on this. So what's the features? I mean, what we are looking at database DevOps. We need a versioning for the database scripts. Okay, the way we are having for the code. Okay, in the same way, we need to have it for the database as well. And database change management. Change management means, okay, people are doing a lot of changes to your scripts. Okay, there should be some governance, right? Who should do what? I mean, you should be knowing, who has done, who made changes to the I mean, which object in your database, etc. And even from moving from one environment to the other environment, the way you are having some workflows, I mean, approval mechanisms or tracking mechanism for the code, you have here as well. Okay, but it will be done slightly differently technically. Okay, and then database bottlenecks by having faster releases, right? Most of the times, where people spend the time, be it a DBAs or project managers or database developers, the application developers, they don't know what changes have been done to which database objects, be it tables or stored procedures. And so people will try to keep it different places. They need to consolidate, they should have calls with the DBAs, understand what changes are there, what is the order to be executed, etc., etc. So those are all the bottlenecks which takes a lot time, during your releases. If you are having complex application, for smaller applications, you will not have much. And let's look at the traditional way of deployment, and then we'll see how it can be automated. Okay. So in some companies, people take the scripts. I mean, let us say you are working on a sprint one or sprint two, whatever it is, right? What they do, they take the scripts and keep it in the version control, manually generate the script. Okay, that is one way. Some other companies, they don't even maintain in the version control. They just on demand, they take it, I mean, they take all the changed objects in our database, generate scripts and give it to the people. That's how it works. So manual verification, right? So it's all about either a lead or some DBA looking at the scripts if they are perfect or not, or I mean, they are created as per our functional or any, what do you say, any syntactical issues. This is all about manual verification. So as I told you, you need to have a hell lot of calls between your DBA teams and dev teams, right? So people will be writing a lot of documentation. What is the script? What is the order, dependencies, etc. Okay. And finally, what happens? Traceability issues, right? Because of all these things, nobody knows what script is changed in what sprint. Okay, and by whom. So if something goes wrong in production or anywhere, it's very difficult for the people to come back and say, hey, what script is changed? I mean, what table is changed? What stored procedure is changed? It's very difficult because you don't have any versioning mechanism, any tracing mechanism in your database environment. So these are the issues. I mean, it's there everywhere, right? Now, so database DevOps, let's version all those scripts automatically, not manually. Okay. And then you will have real traceability because you are keeping it in a version control. Then obviously you can link them with your requirements. You can link them with your builds and deployments, right? You can clearly understand who is doing what and when it is being done. So since it is a your build and release pipelines, you don't need a manual coordination, right? We already see in one-click deployments. So we will make it part of those flows. Okay? Same principles. Okay, whether it is database or programming language, anything, you apply the same principles. Those will not change. So you can deploy this database scripts as part of your existing source code. That means existing pipelines, or you can keep it as a separate pipeline as well. It doesn't make any difference. The reason it depends on how your organization works. So you automate all these things, you need to understand organizational requirements as well. Okay, your project manager may ask, hey, the DB team is different. They don't like it to be part of your release pipeline. Create a different release pipeline. Blah blah blah. So, but it doesn't matter, right? You will have the same configuration, the same release pipeline as code or a different pipeline. That's okay. So how do you achieve this database DevOps? Okay, so you have a very good number of tools in the industry. They are very famous and proven tools. All these, okay, being used by all bigger companies. So if I have to keep it, Redgate and Liquibase, and there are many other as well, like Datical, etc. These are the tools who are leading, which are leading our industry in the database DevOps. Okay. So I'm going to select the tool Redgate. That the way we are working on Azure DevOps, though there are many DevOps platforms. The same way, I'll choose. I'm choosing Redgate here to demonstrate database DevOps. Okay. Once you learn about it, so learning any other tool will be similar because everything more or less similar because it's all about database scripts. You don't have the complexity like any other application programming languages. The reason when it comes to the database, all RDBMS are same only, right? Whether it is Oracle or SQL or any other database, end of the day, these are all about SQL. Okay. So how are you going to do it? Okay, guys, let me tell you one thing. This Redgate, right? This is a paid version. Okay, but it comes for a 14 days free trial. Once you use it on your laptop, okay, after 14 days, you will not be able to again extend it. Okay, even if you uninstall or install your Visual Studio or the extension, it will not work. They have a proper, licensing mechanism, and they make some entries in. So you cannot do anything. So use your the 14 days time, very nicely. Otherwise, you will lose it again. You have to try it on another server or another machine. So it comes as an extension. Redgate comes as an extension with the Visual Studio. You will install that extension, and after that, the way we are creating projects for your MVC for web applications or APIs, ASP.NET MVC or class libraries. In the same way, you will have an option to create a database project as well when you have this Redgate extension installed. Okay, we'll create a database project from the Visual Studio, and for the build and release pipelines, we will use two tasks. The first task for the build, in the build definition, like a pipeline, you will use a Sql Change Automation build. That's the task name. And in the release pipeline, we use SQL Change Automation release. So these two, one task there and here. That's it. And everything will be taken care by your SQL Server database project from Redgate. Okay. So what we do with that? Okay. Any doubts so far? How this database, deployment works in a manual. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use my Visual Studio on my local laptop because I already used it one time. So I will not be able to extend it. That's the reason. I log into my server, one of our servers. I already installed Visual Studio there. I'll use that. Okay. Let me go to portal.azure.com to take my IP address. I actually deleted all the other machines because I no longer need it. I kept only one for my future demos. Okay, let me start it. Guys, go and look at these options on the left hand side. It is very helpful about how to add disks. Okay, how to add extensions. Okay, and then how do you do some availability and the scaling. So these are important. Okay, and I will cover a couple of them later. Okay, but you guys go and have a look at it. It doesn't take much time. Okay, so let me take this IP address. Let's say it's not started still. Ah, I is showing timed out.
You want to click connect?
No, okay. We just need to stop it and we just need to start it. That's it. Connect is nothing but again it will give the same options. How do you want to connect? That's it. Just trying to restart. To my knowledge, I did not make any changes to the network. Let me see networking while it is talking. I have my rules here, right? 3389 here, RDP, and everything is allowed. Anyone can connect to this IP address as long as they're having, because I don't have any restriction here. Let me see. Yeah, it stopped. Let me again go to home overview and start it. I'll just give it a minute because I just started, right? Maybe some bootstrapping or whatever it is. Meanwhile, I just try to, you might have noticed my public IP address is changing every time I restart, start and stop my server. The reason I have not saved this IP address for this server. Okay, you might have seen that pop up while I am stopping the server. You need to reserve it. You call it as a reservation. If you don't reserve it, it will change. So in the real time, you should not have change in IP addresses for your servers. So you always have to use a reserved IP address. It will not come into your scope, but that's very important to understand. Not sure here why it is timing out. Uh, I'll give it a second. Started. There could be some issues on the network as well. Not sure. The timed out. It hardly takes less than a minute for the server to start. Let's wait. Mhm. Let's see. So as I told you, it will give the same option. The only thing is I don't need to do MHDSC. It will directly open that remote desktop. Okay, it is downloaded, right? The moment I click it, it will open the same window. Mhm. Sorry, ping may not work, right? I did not allow the ping. Let me do it. Will be telnet x 3389. Now it is connecting telnet. Okay. I was looking at the ping actually. Okay, it was taking time. That's the reason. For some reason, no issues there. Okay, let me close these things. Let me minimize this as well. Install Visual Studio yesterday here. Let me open this. Okay, first do continue without code. So you will get here, right? Then you close all this stuff. Okay. Generally, if you go to the file and then say new project, right? Here you will get all the templates for your web application, console application. Of course, we don't do DevOps for the console because they don't be used by users. Okay, so you have a lot of uh, application types here. Okay, in the similar way, so when you install Redgate, so how do you install Redgate first? Okay, any extension, not only Redgate, right? Go to the extensions and then say manage extensions. Okay, so go and search for it. Okay, search it in the online place. Okay, search for Redgate. So you see, we will take this Redgate SQL Change Automation. This is a trial version. After 14 days, you need to you will get a chance to extend it as well by sending email to your support. But after they will give another week. That's it. Let's download this. Okay, it's downloaded. It's saying the modifications will begin when all Microsoft Visual Studio windows are closed. Let me close this. Let me close the Visual Studio also, because that's where the extension get installed. Yeah, Visual Studio extension is getting installed now. Say modify. Actually, it will be quicker if it is your laptop or some higher end This is already server which is having 8 GB, right? So taking some time. Okay, done. That get SQL change automation is added. Let's go and close it. Let's go to again Visual Studio. Oh, if we go to here and then go there. Now search for SQL. Yeah, it's on the top itself because it's just been installed. You see SQL change automation project template. Okay. Just say next. Say DB DevOps. Give some name. Similar, right? There is no change how you create your project. Okay. Now simply say create. So you will be, you will be going through a set of wizard steps here. The first thing is it's not a code, right? Which you develop locally in your Visual Studio. Basically, this you are this is part of your SQL Server, right? So you have to take those scripts, okay? And this tool will connect to those servers basically. So you will have a source and a target, right? Source could be your dev, target could be your QA or UAT or production. So that setup will go. Okay, that is what it is happening now. Let's go and get started. So the first step and the last step here is connecting your source and target. Source is can be anything where the changes are there. Target can be anything where you are going to deploy those changes or execute those changes. So you need to connect your server here, like you need to give user database name, user ID, password. Okay, then it will be connected, and then similarly for your target as well. Okay, right now I don't have any databases available. The reason I have my database on my local laptop, but that cannot be connected to outside my network. Okay, so that's the reason what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a Azure SQL database, which is an Azure portal. I mean Azure cloud, and I use those databases, SQL Server data servers here to demonstrate this database. Okay, that is one thing. So this way we will know how to, how to create the databases in your Azure. You already know VMs, you know a little bit about networking. In our future classes, you will also know about this firewall, about some other areas of your networking as well. Okay, and server administration as well. Okay, so how you create it? If you don't know where it exactly resides, which menu contains this SQL database, you can always go and search for it, SQL databases. So there are many things here. You can simply say, click on SQL database. Okay. So I don't have anything. So when you create when you're going to create this SQL database, it will also create an SQL server as well for you, because it has to reside somewhere else, right? But the only difference, you cannot do any remote desktop because this is a PaaS. Okay, if it is a standalone SQL server or standalone Oracle, you basically install it on a server and you can do a remote desktop to that as well. But since it is a PaaS, there is no remote desktop. Okay, just create SQL database. So you give you a subscription, and I'll keep the same resource group what I'm using, and then give the database name, development or dev. Okay, and then you need to select a SQL server. Again, this is a PaaS. This is not your standalone SQL server. Okay, you need to select a server. I don't have anything here. So for that, what you have to do, you have to create a new one. You can read this actually. Okay. Create a new. It's all about again the way you are giving name for virtual machine, etc. Give the same thing. I simply say demo dev. It is struggling to find match. Okay, I'll say demo dev Purna. Yeah, now it is unique basically. And then you have to give the user ID password as a server, SQL server admin. I'll use always the same thing to remember it well. Then give some password. Okay. I actually, my virtual machine is in US West, right? I'll keep this database also there. Otherwise, I'll see some, some latency. Okay, I think I kept it in US West. I'll keep this database also server also in the same region for performance. Okay. Let me go and create it. Okay, the server is created, and in that server, a dev database is created. So this is equivalent to here, right? You have your local server, and under that you have a database. You can have one database or multiple database. But for better scenarios, I will create, when I create another database QA, I'll create another server rather than keeping the QA database or UAT database in the same server what I created now. Okay, we'll create a new server in the next step as well. Now, no elastic pool. This is about all about performance. It is showing, hey, you want to use 32 GB storage, generation 5, 2 cores, etc. This is size of your SQL server, SQL server what you created. So you can configure this database. Let's click on this. This is equivalent to uh, the step of selecting, virtual machine sizes when you're creating virtual machine. Guys, it will kill me. By default, the selected one is a general purpose, which is having, some these IVOPs, etc. And the cost here, 25,000 rupees per month. So per day, I'll be incurring, 1,000 per day basically. Okay, and you have other ranges as well. Let us say hyperscale. You can see it will be even huge. Okay, 47,000 rupees. You can basically have a look at it here for your difference. So business critical, it will be 67,000. That too, with you can even increase this metrics as well, IVOPs, etc. But I'm not going to take any one of those. Okay, so what I'm going to take is I'm going for a very standard one, like not even standard, I would say. I will standard should be okay. You see, 991 rupees per month. Okay, but the only problem is, I can reduce this size. Okay, and you see the moment I am moving these DTUs, basically these are performance units for your databases. Okay, database technical units or something. Okay, so the more units you have, the more cost you will have it. You can see in the bottom it gets increased. This is for the performance regions. Okay, if I have it less, right, when I connect from my SQL Server client to this database, that will be dying actually. Imagine even for connectivity, it will die. Imagine when you execute it, how much time it will take. It takes a hell lot of time. Okay, but for my purposes, I will take the less. Okay, I don't take the basic. The reason I mean, it takes ages for you to connect to that one, even for a creation of some, tables or something as well. So for students, etc., that should be okay. But at least for demo, I don't want to take it. It will be very low performance. Okay. So I'll go with standard. Just apply it. That's all you need to do it. All you need to do is then you have the networking because this is where I want this to be accessible from all my servers. Okay, if you don't give access, you can't. So you have to give at least a public endpoint, but you can mention what IP addresses can be accessible, what IP addresses can access this server, and what Azure resources can access this server. Okay, you have to keep them, allow Azure services resources to access this service. You need to do this. Okay, and add current client IP address to connect to this server. That means, if I don't say yes here, what happens? If I try to access from my I will get the server, right? If I try to access from here, it will not be the server will not be connected. The reason, my laptop IP address or server IP address is not configured to access the server. It's a kind of firewall security or network security. So I don't do this now because I'm not connecting to the database from my local laptop, because all I'm doing is from my server, and this server is already part of my Azure, right? This is Azure virtual machine. And then say additional settings. You don't need to do anything. This is all about again, performance, etc. And then finally, tags. It's all about tagging. Okay, you give some name DB equal to some dev database just for tagging. And optionally, then finally go and create a review and create. So the SQL server will be created with the database name as dev. And we will repeat the same steps for creating a QA database as well. So as I told you, for better demo, I'll give a QA and then even the server as well, right? I don't use the existing server. The existing server is demo dev Pune, right? What I'll do, I'll create a new server saying, create a new server like, demo QA Pune, so that you will see a real-time scenario moving database objects from one database in server 1 to another database in server 2. Okay, guys, I'm not creating now. The reason it takes more than 1 hour for me to explain the concepts, the configuration and execution of those concepts. Okay, I'm just showing how to create SQL database now, so that when we take it on Monday, by that time you will also know how to create these things. You can practice it. Okay, let me stop it. This is one thing I'm going to do in the background basically for on Monday session. So after having the SQL servers and databases, these two things can be done. Then it will go to some other 40 minutes session on this 40 to 1 hour session. Okay, I'm not creating now because I don't have databases. And after that, once we have that project ready, right? This is a business as usual. You will go and push this database project into your Git. Okay. Once you have the database project in Git, we will go and create the CI pipeline and CD pipeline. Let's go to dev.azure.com. Okay. What I'm going to do, I just want to show you the extensions, what we need to have. So we said we need to use a SQL Change Automation and build and release, right? Let me go and install it now, so that on Monday I don't need to repeat this. These are all the prerequisites what I am showing now. Okay, let's go to one of our project. For now, I don't create a new project because for installation you don't need a project, and I can install from any project. So let me go to any one of these projects. As I told you, you can make this database deployment part of your existing release pipeline for your application deployments, or a new pipeline as well. So anything will be fine, but that depends on your management, your project owner or architect, or database developers, or DBA decisions, collective decision. So I need to have that SQL Change Automation build. You can remember this one. You need a SQL Change Automation build extension. So if you go and click on the task, right, add task, go and search for it, SQL Change Automation. Otherwise I'll say Redgate. This is a better one. So you got this task, SQL Change Automation build and release. Okay, it's not installed, right? That's the reason it is saying get it free. Say get it free. Click on this, get it free. So install into this organization, online travel. So any project in this organization can access this task. Okay, proceed to organization. Now if I come here, if I refresh, Okay, it's installed, but it takes a little while to come here, couple of seconds. Now I got this build automation, change automation, build category, build task. Okay, I will add it as part of build pipeline. The other one what I need to have is uh, for release. Redgate, again search for Redgate. I have the build one. Now I will go and use release. I'm not going to configure, but I'm just installing. Okay, get it free. Done. Let me refresh. Take a couple of seconds. Okay. So now I got this release task as well. So now the tasks are available in my organization in Azure DevOps, so I can use it wherever I want. Okay. Guys, these are the prerequisites. Now you understand that in your Visual Studio, you need to have that Redgate SQL Change Automation extension. Go and use it from manage extensions. Okay. And then you need to have the SQL Server databases. Okay. Go and create the SQL Server databases. How I shown you now in this video. And after that, come to your Visual, Azure DevOps and install these agents, tasks basically. So before tasks, before installation, you call them as extensions. Once these are installed, you call them as tasks because you will add them here. Go for Redgate SQL Change Automation, build, Redgate SQL Automation, release. These two tasks. So have the similar setup on your accounts as well. On Monday, we will go and set up that in the Visual Studio, the SQL Server Database project in the Visual Studio, and create build and release pipelines and deploy them to the targets what we create. It takes a lot of time. That's the reason I'm just stopping it for today. We'll do all the stuff on the Monday itself in one session. Any doubts? Prerequisites.
No. In SQL level, maybe say example store procedure. They're going to migrate. They're going to move from dev to production.
Correct.
How come it happens? It will happen blocking, dead block, everything will come, right? How come it will work?
Sorry. I didn't get that question.
No. Generally, the scripts is from development to QA to production will go. Say example, developers creating some scripts. Store procedure. That store procedure already in production, already running, working fine. They adding some points. So in case if they want to add it again, already this is running, right? How come? Whether they go for any downtime or they simply deploy in a current production?
See, obviously, this is a strategy, right? If you have only one database server in the production, you must have to take it down, whether it is automation or manual. Right? If you are having multiple databases, multiple instances, then you will, the way you are having a load balancer for your servers, for the databases also, you have you have the clustering or you have the blue-green deployment based servers as well. Means you will have the similar setup. Let us say on production, you will have the multiple databases working separately, but they might have a database sync, real-time sync between the servers. Okay, it is a strategy. If you don't want a downtime for the databases, then you have to maintain multiple instances of the databases. Okay, and by having a real-time syncing, etc., so that when you are deploying the SQL database scripts, any database scripts to the database server, you can first deploy to one passive server. Once it is done in the passive server and it is working fine, then you can switch your control. Make this passive as active and active as passive. Now do the deployment on the the previous active server, which is now passive. So this is a strategy. Okay, if you have only one server, no one can do. I mean, is it manual or automation? Because you will have that fraction of seconds, right? At least.
That's fine.
So this,
But even
yeah.
active, passive, even always on, whatever maybe. But anyhow, we are going to touch the current production, right? Current production, how come we can execute the scripts?
I didn't get your point. Is this your point about downtime or how you are going to execute? That's what
In a
is your
SQL
point
server.
here?
Yeah, in a SQL server, currently running production server, how come I can execute a store procedure which is already running? Developer or QA, they implemented something in a store procedure. How come I can include in a current production server without affecting the current environment?
Without affecting the, I mean, you don't want to take that server down. Are you saying that one?
Yes, yes.
That's what I'm explaining, right? If you have only one server, you cannot have you cannot deploy without having downtime. Because let us say you have only one server, already people are accessing the application. That application is executing the store procedure internally.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
then that's not possible, right? Forget
Yes.
about DevOps. Forget about DevOps. Okay, anything without downtime with a single server, you can't. I mean, you can't make application up and running all the time. Not only for the DevOps, even for application code also. Let us say you have your UI, okay, which is deployed to the web server. You only have one web server, okay. When you are deploying the code to that web server, obviously for at least, even though it is a very high performance server or a high network bandwidth, etc., at least it takes a minute or so, right? During that minute, the users may see issues. That's the reason people take the website down, right? When they have a single server, people take the website down. But if the people are having multiple servers under load balancer or geo replication, etc., people don't keep the message like server under or website under maintenance, because they will go in a rolling manner, rolling updates. First they do the deployment in one server and then make it available, then do it on the other server, make it available. That switch hardly takes a couple of seconds, not even seconds, less than a second, which users don't know it. You need to have
So
a
the
multiple.
destination, correct. So the destination server always in cloud, right? Not in on-premises.
That's your choice. The reason I'm using cloud because I'm not part of any network. Okay, if I'm not part of network, I mean my laptop cannot be accessible over internet. That's the only reason I'm using a cloud. See, the other one is on the server itself. So let us say on this server, I can install the SQL server. Okay, which will become your on-premise SQL server, right? Whether it is a virtual machine or physical server. When you are installing a database, that means that is your standalone server. Again, you have to
Okay.
purchase, again, you have to purchase the license and apply that license. Of course, for practice or demo, we don't. We go with the community edition, right, or SQL Express edition. But for commercial, either you have to have a server and install the database, or go with the PaaS service, where you don't need to maintain any infrastructure. PaaS is nothing but now Azure SQL Database. If it is AWS, AWS RDS.
Okay.
Okay. So without multiple instances, you don't have a choice. I mean, no, not only for the database, anything. Okay.
Okay.
Guys, I would like to stop it for today. We'll continue this. Now we have the prerequisites in place. We'll continue the the configuration and execution on Monday. Okay. If you have any doubts, I'd like to take it. Otherwise, I'll just wrap it for today. Okay, guys. Then, thank you. Have a good
Okay.
weekend. Yeah, we'll catch
See you
up
on
on
Monday.
Monday.